What's the most baddest thing you've accidentally said in the heat of the moment? I was eating McDonald's with a few friends and I started choking. The only thing I managed to say in the whole ordeal was I'm McChockin'. Ducking gold, how'd he die? I dunno. He choked to death while his friends pissed themselves laughing so damn hard. He was McMurdered. We had a overly dramatic neighbor who always claimed she was sick and dying. My mom came to see my kids in the middle of battling stage 4 lung cancer. The neighbor pulled her. "Hi Rita. So glad to see you. Did Jason tell you that I'm dying?" My mom looked right at her, smiled and said, "Me too, dear, but not today." Never more proud of her. That's some Walter White shit right there. God bless your mum. You're goddamn right. For the last time, Mary. They're not stones. I have kidney mineral deposits. This one had a little setup, but I think it's funny enough to share. At a family vacation, my grandmother was giving me grief for not remembering her birthday. I've never been good with birthdays. After telling me it was the password to her iPhone, she wanted me to take a picture with it, which is why I needed the password. While she was distracted, I opened up the settings, changed her password to my birth date, and then set her phone down. Cue 15 minutes later. She's trying to get into her phone and it's not working. Suspecting mischief, she grumpily asks me if I've changed the password to her phone in front of our entire family. I admit that I did. "Well, what is it?" she asked impatiently. "It's my birth date." She sat there in stunned silence for about 15 seconds, not being able to remember my birthday before our family exploded laughing. Was a good time. Biggest reverse card devil mayo. Draw 4 or admit you ducked up, haha. Proceed to draw 40 because I know myself and I probably deserve it. When I was a broke college student, a wealthy older lawyer hid my car. No damage to his, but mine was crumpled. And I spent all of my no money at the time keeping it on the road. I was going literally 7 miles per hour in a parking lot and he was entirely at fault. We exchanged insurance info and I had to get a rental car until mine was fixed. He dodged the insurance calls for about 2 weeks, forcing me to pay out of pocket for the rental. About $600, which I definitely didn't have. I knew this guy was an asshole snooty lawyer. My dad is a court attorney, and while I have never used this flex, I finally had to ask my dad to call him and talk some lawyer at him. 15 minutes later I get a call and insurance will go forward. Fast forward like 8 years. I'm bartending at a swanky lounge where a chamber of commerce event is going on. Just for local business people to rub elbows and network. This lawyer douche is really feeling himself and charming the room. He orders a glass of wine from me and then stops and says, "Hey, miss, do I know you?" So I came back loudly with, "Well, not really, but you hid my car in a parking lot a few years ago when I was a broke college student and stuck me with the bill. Do you want to open a tab for the wine or close out now?" He did not open a tab. This might be my favorite in the thread. Honestly, my parents are pretty well off, but I always worked my way through school. One summer I visited my parents for the summer and they brought me out to dinner with their super rich friends who were cooing over me and wanting to set me up with their son. The next day the same people didn't recognize me because I was working for the caterer at the event they attended, and wait staff were invisible to them. Like, I made eye contact and they weren't pretending not to notice me, they just didn't recognize me. I would have loved to have an opportunity to shut them down. My mom's best friend and the person from whom I got my middle name pretended she didn't know me when I worked as catering server at one of her parties. When I greeted her, she glared at me and ordered me to get her something. She was angry that I dared address her. Did you ever tell your mom? Just curious to what she had to say, because that's just ducked up. Got to work one morning. My chosen football team had thrashed my boss's chosen team. I gave him a load of shit for it, humorously of course. My boss is great. He gave me some shit back and told me to do a stock take on all items we have beginning with the letter C. I pointed at him and said, 1. Luckily, he took it the correct way and laughed a lot. It took me way too long to figure out that you were calling him a cunt. Well done. Ha. Thanks. As soon as I said it, I hope that he took it as it was meant. The first day camping at a 2016 music festival. I headed off with a 4-gallon jug to get water. A girl who was with our group, who had never met before, asked if I needed help. I responded, "No, but I'd sure love some company. We're getting married this fall." "Congratulations." "Thanks." Long story short, my friend would share my sexcapades with other people, which I would rather he didn't. Got fed up and ended up blurting out, "Just because you don't have your own stories to share, doesn't mean you have to share mine. Am I the only one that doesn't share my sex life with friends? It seems weird to me." I know someone who kinda always have to mention that he is meeting girls or whatever. Like, dude, I got it. You have sex. This was back in my junior year of college. At the beginning of the semester I was introducing myself to my very intimidating biochemistry professor. Guy was a genius, but also a hardus. Students were all terrified to ask him questions because he was known for grilling people, and if they hadn't made enough effort beforehand he'd send them out of his office to learn on their own. As I walked into his office he was sorting through some boxes and made a really sarcastic comment regarding stuffing me in the box and shipping it off somewhere. He looked up for my response and I just blurted out without thinking I wouldn't mind going somewhere nice. Dude laughed so hard it actually startled me a little. We got along pretty well for the remainder of the semester, so it all worked out really well. It's amazing what a little laughter can do to ease tension. He needed that. In another universe, I wouldn't mind going somewhere nice. What the duck, you said? Nothing. Bye, sir. Another universe, I wouldn't mind going somewhere nice. How about a hotel? And that's how I passed that class. Around the time I was 12, I was at a family party with my dad and aunts/uncles. My dad told me that one of my uncles owned several bars. My response? "Oh, it's good that he got into a business that he knows something about." I had no idea what I really was saying. I thought I was giving him a compliment. I did something similar around the same age. My parents were meeting up with my mom's siblings to go paint my grandparents' house. That included my Uncle Dave, who was known to everyone to be a pretty heavy drinker. My mom got a water jug we owned out of the cupboard, probably to put water in for everyone while working. And I looked at it and said, "Oh, is that for Dave's beer?" I was the lawyer in this criminal case arising out the Standing Rock events. That morning, some Lakota people had given us this traditional blessing to wish us well for the trial, and there were 5 to 7 activists sitting in the courtroom to watch and support us. It happened that there was a certain digital document that I needed before the jury got back from a break, and we didn't know just when the break would be over. I remember turning to the supporters holding up a thumb drive and telling them exactly what I needed from the office across the street and how to get it. I held out the thumb drive and with all the intensity of an ancient general sending his troops into battle said, "Fastest runner, go now." This tiny little young woman grabbed the thumb drive and hauled ass. She got back before the jury returned. Good for you. How'd the trial go? After the jury walked in, they gave him a piece of their pizza. Explain. The jury deliberated 3 hours on 2 felony counts, both of which involved allegations of violence against police officers. Pizza was delivered to the jury for lunch. They delivered their verdict of acquittal. None of them wanted to talk to me, but some of them gave my client a piece of pizza. I told him that piece of pizza is called the apology of the court. Then I walked outside in the hallway, high on victory, in front of everybody, and announced, if anyone was under the impression that they are invincible, take note. One of the jurors was just walking out and cracked up at that. About 25 years ago, I was in grade 9 and my parents bought me a pair of Air Maximum. I'm a female, but I had picked a pair of Air Maximum that were supposed to be for males because I preferred the color of the shoes. I was super pumped to get those shoes. We didn't have lots of money and it was a pretty extravagant purchase. Anyway, I was at our local shopping center and I ran into a group of guys I went to high school with. They were a real bunch of assholes that thrived on dumping on other people. One of the guys had on the same pair of shoes and said to me, "Do you know you're wearing men's shoes?" To To which I quickly replied, then why the duck are you wearing them? The other guys pissed themselves laughing, and it still stands out in my mind after all these years. Man, that was ice cold. I bet his friends still bring that one up. If I was best man at the guy's wedding, I'd probably even sneak a reference into the speech. You'd be the soul of the party. He'll be a smashing success. A shoo-in for best man speech. There's no way you're this much of an asshole naturally. You must go home and practice. I said this to a cowwalker who was throwing a fit and bullying a quieter cowwalker because he was pissed off. He had a habit of just being a giant douche anytime things didn't go his way. This comment pissed him off so much he just stormed into his office and stayed there the rest of the day. Win for the rest of us. He was in there practicing some more. I normally never call anyone out. I'm the type that just sits quietly and watches what everyone else in response. But this one time, it actually happened. I was working as an unloaded for a freight truck for a store. I was in a team of about 8 people. This one guy decided to buy a Bluetooth boombox for the truck bay for when we're unloading. And he constantly played vulgar rap. Which, listen, if that's what you listen to, that's cool. But it's kinda unfair that he was the only person using it and he was constantly listening to one thing. Finally one day, one of our guys hooked up to it while the one guy went to the restroom and turned on Owner of a Lonely Heart. He comes back and says, who the duck was the jackass that turned this shit on? And I just came out of nowhere and said, the jackass who got tired of your shit and did everyone in here a favor and turned something else on. I could hear your heart pumping super fast through my phone screen as you recounted this story. I'm sitting here taking a shit and my adrenaline is spiking. I actually said nothing. I was on my motorcycle in traffic, on a wet overpass with short jersey walls. Guy behind me was driving a bit too fast and slammed on his brakes, sliding into me, but no damage as he was going slow enough to touch and push me about 5 feet before finally coming to a stop. The angle had me going straight forward, so I did not fall. Had it been much faster, I would have been thrown over the edge to my death. So obviously I was not happy. I turned off the engine, got off the bike and slowly walked over to the driver that hit me. It's only a few feet, and when he saw me coming to him, he furiously started raising his manual window, so I could just see him struggling to pump the winder. When I got there, I just knocked on his window, pointed at him, and turned around and walked away. He looked terrified. I didn't think about it until later. A guy you just hit in a car wearing a black helmet, with shaded visor, black heavy thick jacket, black heavy riding pants, road crafter jacket and pants, black thick and metal studded gloves, and black leather boots, knocks on your window and points at you for being a supreme dumbass. I had no idea. I just wanted to talk to him, be a bit angry, but tell him I was okay, then take a secretary to verify my bike was okay as well. That'll teach them. I had a surgery, and when I woke up, the nurse was really cute, so I started flirting with her, with no success. I had a second surgery, and when I woke up, it was the same cute nurse. My first words to her were, how many surgeries do I have to have before I get your phone number? We've been married 8 years now. This is almost exactly how my dad found and married his third Lisa. I think he may have lifted his hospital gown as well. Third Lisa? Is that like Tammy 1 and Tammy 2? The first time I saw Parks and Rec, I freaking died laughing. Yeah, my dad has married 3 women named Lisa. My mom was the first. He affectionately refers to them as L1, L2, and L3. His newish wife, Gail, loves it. What? Hey, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.